Welcome back. You've heard several guests on FedGov Today TV and the FedGov Today podcast recently cite data as one of the most important foundational elements for AI success. Federal government technology and data leaders tell me the reopening after the shutdown may yield an opportunity for big productivity gains with AI. Ted Kaouk is founder and author of generativework.ai. He's former chief data officer at OPM and former chair of the Federal Chief Data Officers Council. Ted, welcome. It's great to see you again.
Great to see you,
What
Francis.
are the opportunities that you see for agencies to use AI to kind of get back to normal as quickly as possible?
Well, I think one of the questions that people have is how can we cut through some of the red tape with AI? And of course, there are risks that we need to take account of. But I think one of the safest ways that people can engage with AI is prototyping. Speed to innovation, I think, like never before, the cost of that has been reduced, and that really goes along with the number of ideas that you can test out safely in an environment. We did an experiment just prior to the shutdown, a 30-day challenge where we built 30 applications in 30 days. What was interesting about that was another chief data officer who was engaging in that process. And again, the speed to be able to develop some applications, even with synthetic data in a safe way, is one of the best opportunities agencies have to engage going forward.
And it strikes me that the dynamic has shifted in such a huge way that agencies can almost spin those up on their own. Budget doesn't sound like it's really an issue because agencies have access to so many AI tools now. There's really no reason not to, it sounds like.
Yeah, I think just getting people's feet wet, getting them into the ecosystem of building these things quickly, what they can realize is that really testing out those ideas and taking it to a business partner and having them look at the application will tell them whether it's worth investing and further investing in that particular application.
The term getting people's feet wet, what's the best way to pursue that at a time when a lot of agencies feel stretched, a lot of agencies don't have budget for formal types of training? What are the best ways to do that?
I think one thing that we need to sort of take account of with the culture within agencies is the past 50 or 60 years, we've really had managers and leaders be the ones who are providing guidance or behavioral feedback, and that's really going to be a skill set that everyone in the workforce is going to need now. So that means guiding your AI agents as a team, and I think that's one thing that leaders can take on personally is I do that on a daily basis, and that's the skills that my employees are going to be able to need to work effectively with AI going forward. So how can I start to learn it myself so that I can teach this to them?
So the 30 apps in 30 days process, what was the vetting process to determine whether the idea for an app kind of met the criteria of investing time and resources on, and how does that track to how an agency should think about it?
Well, I mean, a couple of principles to keep in mind. First, there is this idea of speed. And so building an app in a day shows that you can pursue something very quickly and then discard it if it's not a good idea. So we started with a very broad sort of palette. We looked at design thinking, decision-making support, games, educational tools. I think the most important principle in getting started is to be deliberate with your intent. There's a lot of, I think, misinformation about large language models out there, I think it's safe to say. And the truth is that large language models can perform behaviors anywhere from supporting a learning environment all the way into pure execution. Often work that we're doing in knowledge work is somewhere in the middle. Just being deliberate with our intent when we're building the application and knowing what the user needs, I think, is the first thing to keep in mind.
A lot of discussion that I've seen, not just in the federal marketplace, but in the commercial sector too, about LLMs and how they fit into the AI discussion. And for a long time, the progression seemed to be robotic process automation. Then people talked about LLMs a lot. Then the focus almost went entirely to AI. Now the conversation is kind of a sync of the two of those ideas, AI and LLM. What is driving that? And am I discerning that correctly? And is that happening for some reason that you know of, Ted?
Well, not to get too technical with it, but I think, again, on the side of agentic behaviors, you're actually using natural language and subject matter expertise to create those behaviors. And so that means that that's not really, it's being driven by code, but it's also created by the human aspect of really understanding what those behaviors are and providing that feedback. And then we have coupled traditional code where we have automated processes or algorithms that are running in the background that are executing some of those processes. And so those two things are coming together with AI, and that means we need a multidisciplinary approach to make all of this work. We're going to have people from the humanities and the social sciences entering into tech, and we're going to have people from tech kind of leaning into the humanities and social sciences more and more as this evolves.
A number of the things that you've mentioned so far in this conversation will require agencies to do things differently, dramatically differently in some cases, than they have before. The fact that lots of people will be involved in the training and education sharing and so on. The multidisciplinary approach that you just described is not common among federal agencies. What or who should drive the cultural shift that'll be required to be able to make these things successful?
I think there's a big responsibility for chief human capital officers to really understand what skill sets are going to be needed, how they're going to drive that into the workforce, but also what is the makeup in terms of agentic workers who are working within a particular organization, and the relationship between those and the employees who are focused on driving the outcomes with those at the helm.
How high level should that be, though? It strikes me that to really be effective in that way, it almost might require a complete skills inventory for the entire agency, and then deciding these skills have to be humans, these skills can be agents, and to break it down from there. And that could wind up making an agency look completely different 5 years from now than it does today.
I really do think that we're going to be investing in the workforce for the kind of workforce transformation that we haven't seen in many, many, many decades, if ever. And so that really will require a fundamental reshaping of the skill sets that are needed. Again, I think we're going to see business acumen, multidisciplinary thinking being something that everyone in the workforce is going to have to start to adapt to, and I think there is going to need to be that systematic approach for organizations to be able to tackle it effectively.
Last time you and I talked, you mentioned the hype cycle that people are going through with AI, was the term that you used. Are you starting to see agencies break out of that and think about artificial intelligence more practically? Or are there a lot of folks that are still looking for AI for the sake of looking for AI?
I think we're still in the process of evangelizing and having people learn and get their feet wet. I really do. And so I think there are certainly pockets where people have really understood what outcomes are possible. One of the strange things with working with large language models is there are often breakthrough outcomes, both over multi-month periods, but even within a single day, that are just out of reach, and whether or not you're going to be able to cross that chasm is you're only going to be able to find out by experimenting and testing. So people have to realize that it's not going to come from just one prompt or a single activity. It's going to take some fortitude to sort of learn what's possible, and I think that spirit of innovation is really what needs to take root, and we're still kind of on the path to getting there, I think.
Are there policy or process dictates that will help to achieve the things that you just described? I'm thinking in particular of updates to the federal data strategy, or policy issues from OMB, or other things like that that will help drive some of these things that maybe don't exist today.
I think one would be coming back to that safe sandbox. Do organizations and employees who have ideas about how they can innovate within an organization have a safe place where they can experiment, where they can create synthetic data as opposed to sensitive data, and where they can build things outside of long procurement cycles? I think that's one simple step that agencies can take. And I think having a workforce training plan and skills development roadmap is another one. Really thinking about what is going to be needed for your particular agency, I think would be two really good steps for agencies to take.
You talked about the workforce a few minutes ago. What are the most important things that you'd like to see individuals do, whether they're in leadership or rank and file employees, to continue to keep their skills up to date, to continue to get their feet wet, as you've described it a couple of times, to make sure that they're able to go along for the ride and not kind of get swept up?
This is a tough one, so I think we're all going to have to encourage ourselves here. I really think it's about recognizing that as AI adoption goes to 100%, just using it isn't going to be enough. We're going to need to think about innovation, and that means what can I, as the human, coupled with the AI, do that neither the AI alone or myself could do alone, and really thinking about that envelope and pushing toward that. So I think an innovation mindset is really going to be important for agencies going forward.
Do you expect to see tools from the agencies to help people achieve that innovation mindset, or is that even possible? Or is there such a thing as a tool that helps somebody think in a more innovative way?
I think you will learn that in the doing, right? But I think one of the key changes that we'll see with large language models is it was cost prohibitive to build bespoke applications for small and medium-sized organizations in the past, and that's just not going to be the case anymore. So we're going to have the ability to shape and customize things rather than fitting ourselves into the mold of large enterprise applications.
Final thought, is there a risk to getting too micro when it comes to developing applications in the bespoke nature that you just described? Or is that not possible?
I think you're going to need to think as an enterprise, so I think context mapping and really leveraging AI on a broad scale is going to be important. But then there's got to be room for some bespoke experimentation innovation for specific workflows that are only pertinent to a particular agency. So I think we have to bring all those things together.
Ted, it's always great to have you on the program. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks, Francis.
You can read more about data and AI success post-shutdown on today's show page at fedgovtoday.com.